that live and work in Niagara today. The Regional Municipality of Niagara and the Town of Grimsby stand with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wide stewardship of the lands on which we live. The basic premise of this open house is to provide the opportunity for the public to provide input on the proposed application. I would like to stress that there have been no decisions or recommendations made by council or planning staff on these applications. To ensure a fair process, members of council are to hear public input but not engage in debate about the merits of the application. Opinions on the application should not be made at this time. Members will have the opportunity to express all their views and concerns when the final staff report and recommendation comes forward. A subsequent public meeting will be held at a later date in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, and public engagement will be welcome then as well. This meeting is conducted in accordance with the town's procedural bylaw. All participants are asked to conduct themselves with decorum and respect and provide the opportunity for all members of the public to express their opinion in an environment of tolerance on all points of view and free of intimidation. The intent is to create a venue to encourage people to participate in the process and provide their input. With us this evening is Mustafa Al-Haboli, agent, planning staff in attendance, Adam Gignac, planner, and Walter Basic, assistant director of planning. Tonight we will start with staff providing a brief presentation outlining the process and the application. Next, the applicant team will provide an overview of the proposal, and that will be followed by an opportunity for you to ask questions. If you have not already done so, please ensure you have signed in so you will be informed of future meetings on this proposal. As we navigate the open house meeting, we ask all participants for your patience. Each participant will be called in order and will be provided 10 minutes to speak. Each presenter may speak only once. If you hear your comment presented by someone else, please do not duplicate the remarks. All of the comments are being recorded and will be taken into consideration. When you are called, we ask that you state your name and address. Persons addressing council should confine their remarks to the business at hand and shall direct all their comments or questions to the chair. Staff are taking notes of all the questions asked this evening. At the end of the delegations, the applicant will be asked to respond to all of the questions and comments raised. If you feel that your questions have not been responded to this evening, you can email our planning department at planning@grimsby.ca. Welcome, Adam. We're ready for your presentation now. Thank you.
Taking the time out of your schedules to join us for this open house this evening. So the applications that will be discussed this evening are proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendments for 264 Main Street East. Next slide, please. So just to begin this open house, I'll be going through this brief presentation, just providing everyone some insight into the process of this application, as well as to briefly introduce the application itself, including what's planned for the site. We also have Mustafa Al-Haboubi here, the agent for the applicants, here to provide some insight and details about the application as well. And then after the presentation, there'll be time to ask any questions you may have or provide comments, concerns about the application. Next slide, please. So just going over the purpose of tonight's meeting again, we'd like to provide you all with an overview of the planning process for these types of applications, the OPA and the ZBA. So this includes the process from the beginning to the finish, where exactly the town is in the process. An overview of the policy and regulatory framework will be provided, including relevant official plan policies. The applicant team also is here to provide some feedback or details about the proposal and again, answer any questions you may have so that we can gather feedback and take it into consideration. Next slide, please. So why can plans or bylaws change? Under the Planning Act, authority is provided to submit applications for development plans that may or may not meet the current official plan or zoning bylaw. In the case of this application, both the official plan and zoning bylaw requirements cannot be met. Therefore, a official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications are required. So the town's role in this process is to process these applications that come in. So these applications are only able to amend the official plan or zoning bylaw if it is determined that the proposed changes comply with the overall intent of the official plan, and the result of these changes is a development that is compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods. Next slide, please. So before you is a flow chart that outlines some of the major milestones in the planning process. So an application for an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment starts with a pre-consultation meeting with town staff and any relevant agencies, including the Niagara Region, Escarpment Commission, Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, etc. So this meeting outlines the requirements a potential applicant would need to submit for an application submission. So once an application is ready, the applicant would submit the required documents and fees to the town for the town to review for completion. Upon the application being deemed complete, a notice is sent out and agencies are asked for comments. The public is also able to provide comments at this time. For this application, any documents related to the proposal are posted on the current planning applications webpage on the town's website. Notices for open houses, public meetings, etc. are also posted at this location. So we are currently at the open house process or stage, which offers an introduction to the application to everyone here. So this open house will be followed by a future public meeting, which will provide further opportunity for comments on the application. So along the way, revisions may be made to the application, and any concerns from any agencies, town staff, or members of the public will be looked at. And after the public meeting, if all the concerns about the proposal are believed to have been met, staff will prepare a recommendation report for council regarding the application. A decision on the application would be made at a future council meeting with the opportunity to appeal the decision afterwards. Next slide, please. So the planning process is an open process and allows members of the public to have your say. So the open house is just one of these opportunities to give your opinion on the application. The public meeting be another opportunity. Alternatively, you can write an email or letter addressed to the planning department to provide comments. The email to write to is planning@grimsby.ca. You can also send a copy of your letter to your email or email to your counselors as an alternative. And to stay informed about the application, you are invited to provide your mailing address to the planning department. And by doing so, you would receive any notice of future meetings, information on how to obtain a staff report, information about speaking in front of the committee or council, and information on how a decision on the application can be appealed. So just moving on to the proposal. So this slide shows the proposed site plan for the properties. So the properties are 264 Main Street East on the right-hand side and 260 Main Street East on the left-hand side. Just to provide some background information to everyone, there was previously a minor variance application associated with 264 Main Street East that is related to this project. So when the clinic use was proposed back in 2021, it was determined by planning staff that the parking on the site existing at the time was insufficient for the use of the entirety of the building as clinic use. So instead, a minor variance was requested by the applicants to occupy a portion of the building for the clinic use.
Adam, just a second, sorry to interrupt you. Councilor Bradshey's on the Zoom, and he said that he can't hear anybody speaking, so I don't know if there's, if it's muted.
It's muted.
It's muted.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't think he needs this background, but just in case there's anybody else. It's still muted in the corner up there.
Is it? Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Adam. It's just that if this is being recorded or anything. Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I don't have audio for some reason.
Thanks, Leanne.
All right.
I've tried to quietly say the same thing.
It's funny because I can hear you, Jacob.
I thought like maybe I muted Council Chambers, but I definitely didn't.
I can hear both of you guys as well, by the way, so don't talk about me, okay?
Really, Jacob.
How about now?
Oh, we got some. I can hear Adam through Adam's account, but Council Chambers is muted somehow.
Yes, the council chamber is muted, yeah.
Oof, I thought it was just me.
So, Mustafa, how's business?
Good. Good, sir.
Let's stop by and say hello again. I haven't seen you since you opened up.
Yeah. Yeah, next time we will, for sure.
Well, now you have more parking anyway.
Yes,
We will.
hopefully. We will, hopefully.
Yeah.
He's coming, just wait, he's coming. Please don't start again. Just have him give the background process every time.
Veronica just sent me a message.
Yeah, same. Say that I'm not afraid to have anybody here. Working on it.
It's odd that we can all hear each other, but we can't hear the presentation.
Council Chambers is never muted. I don't know. Strange.
Yeah, it's obviously.
And that's why the three councilors that aren't here should be punished.
Yeah.
Are you there? You snake.
All
All right, can everyone hear now?
There we go.
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear.
Yes.
10-4.
Okay. My apologies for the interruption there. Okay, so I'll just begin again on this proposed development slide. All right. So this slide outlines a proposed site plan for the properties. So on the right side, you have 264 Main Street East, basically everything to the right of the red rectangle on there. And to the left is 260 Main Street East. So just to provide background on this, there was a previous minor variance application associated with the proposed applications that are going on. So when the clinic was first proposed, it was determined by planning staff that there was a parking deficiency on the site at the time, and that was for the use of the entirety of the building as a clinic use. So the applicants at the time had applied for a minor variance, which was requested to occupy just a portion of the building until zoning could be met to increase the parking on the site. So that was granted, and the condition was meeting zoning approval to occupy the rest of the building. And until then, it wasn't able to be occupied until parking was addressed. And so that space is currently vacant, and that's what you can see in the light blue there on the proposed site plan. So the main purpose of the OPA and ZBA applications now is to accommodate an expanded parking lot for the specific purpose of occupying the rest of the building for commercial uses. Nope, stay on that side. Nope, not yet. So I'll also note, in addition to the OPA and ZBA applications, there will be future consent and site plan applications that will be required. So the consent would be for the property at 264 Main Street East to acquire the parcel of land from 260, the parcel that is outlined in red. And the site plan would later on deal with site detailing such as drainage, grading, landscaping, etc. And just one more note on the property itself is that the building at 260 Main Street East is on the town's heritage register. So a heritage impact assessment was submitted as part of the requested materials by staff for the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications. And that document's currently being reviewed by the town's heritage planner. So in addition to that, the Heritage Grimsby Advisory Committee will be providing comment on this application when it appears before the committee on May the 9th. Next slide, please. Yep. So just to begin to address the official plan amendment, when evaluating applications for an official plan amendment, numerous policies are considered. So under section 143 of the official plan, it is intended that the official plan may only be amended with substantial evidence to justify such an amendment based on good planning. So to determine whether an amendment is appropriate, regard shall be had to numerous sections of the official plan, including section 2.0 on the vision and municipal structures, goals and objectives of the town, land use categories in section 3.0, and the implementation policies found in section 9.0, among many other policies within the official plan. So the official plan currently designates the lands that are proposed to be acquired by 264 Main Street East as low-density residential area. The policies for this designation are located in section 342 of the official plan. So this designation permits a mixture of residential uses, including single detached and semi-detached dwellings, as well as community facilities. It is considered a stable residential neighborhood, but does allow for limited development, evolution, and rejuvenation. And the proposal is aiming to redesignate the lands proposed to be acquired as neighborhood commercial area. So these policies for this designation are in section 361 of the official plan. So this designation permits a variety of commercial uses, including grocery stores, retail stores that service the local neighborhood, medical clinics, coffee shops, studios, offices, etc. So the current zoning on 264 Main Street East is neighborhood commercial, and the current zoning on 260 Main Street East is Main Street or MS15 zone, 15 representing the maximum lot coverage. So the NC zone permits a range of commercial uses again, including clinics, retail uses, and stores, daycare facilities, studios, etc. The MS zone permits single detached dwellings, again with a maximum of 15% lot coverage. And then the proposed zoning on the lands to be acquired by 264 Main Street East is neighborhood commercial, or NC, to facilitate the expansion of the parking lot. In addition, a site-specific provision is proposed for 260 Main Street East for the side yard setback of the existing accessory building on the property to maintain conformity with the zoning bylaw following a future consent application. And just to summarize everything, because that was a lot of information, I have included the first two figures from the information report that was included in the agenda on this slide. So the left figure identifies the current properties, the current configurations, 264 Main Street East and 260 Main Street East. On the right figure, you have two areas identified, Area A and Area B. So the area for Area A is the subject area to the official plan amendment application, redesignating the designation from low-density residential area to neighborhood commercial area. A is also where the zoning is proposed to be redesignated, again, from Main Street MS15 to neighborhood commercial zone. The Area B really is only impacted by the zoning bylaw amendment, and that is specifically for the site-specific provision that's proposed for the accessory building to help maintain its compliance with the zoning bylaw. So again, Area A is the area, the main focus of the OPA application, and Area B really only addresses or is addressed through a proposed site-specific provision. And that is everything. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adam. Now we'll welcome Mustafa. Mustafa?
Hello. Hi. Thanks for, thank you, Adam. So yes, that's the gist of the application. Like Adam said, we basically have, we started this 2 years ago where a clinic came into the building and we had a deficiency of a parking. So we had to close off, I would say 40 to 50% of the building. That is, we kept it vacant under the minor variance, and we negotiated with the owner of the house to buy a portion of the land to convert it into parking lots, which will allow us to open that area and expand or have other tenants come in to use the retail, the whole building. And yeah, that's we worked on it for 2 years. It's unfortunate that it is a bit too much work, but we understand everything is involved. It's OPA, it's rezoning, it's severance, it's everything. It's heritage too. In comments to the heritage, we're not touching the heritage part of the building, like the house. We're just taking a portion of the land. So the heritage report, I think the comment of the heritage report is there is no significant effect on the heritage properties of our neighbor. Yes, but and I'm available for any questions you guys have.
All right, thank you, Mustafa. Now I'll open it up to members of the public. Are there any members of the public here that want to speak?
I'd like to speak.
Yeah, just state your name and address.
George Cruzel, 260 Main Street East.
Yeah, you right into the mic.
Speaking to the mic.
All right, go ahead, George.
Okay, my concern, first of all, is that this application that's in front of you is premature because the consent to the Committee of Adjustment to readjust the boundary hasn't been made yet. So the applicant is dealing with property he doesn't own. I have asked his lawyer in Toronto on several occasions to provide me with a copy of the application so that I could sign it, the application for consent. And nobody ever presented anything to me. And the first time I discovered the nature of this application was when I received this in the mail.
All right. I don't have a comment for that because
Well, could somebody, if there's somebody that would know, could somebody comment on the status of the consent application? Where does that stand?
Walter? Mustafa, do you have comments for that?
We applied for the consent also, and I think Adam would know more about the timeline on which one comes first. And we do have a purchase and sale agreement between both properties. So that's basically our base on how we are working on this.
I don't want to bring irrelevant, well, it's not irrelevant, but other considerations into this because in my contract, it says specifically, and I put this clause in there, that the applicant, the buyer, has to proceed expeditiously with the consent application, which they haven't done. And that's why I'm...
Yes.
Well, I haven't
we
seen...
won't be able to... We won't be, as far as I know, and Adam can correct me, we won't be able to do the consent until we move ahead more in other, in the rezoning and all of that application. But consent have been applied, have been submitted. So it is part of the whole process. The process is too long. It's everything has to be done, and Adam can correct me on this. Like we can't really finish the consent and not do the other parts too.
I don't understand why that is so.
So,
Yeah,
is George the owner of the property that's being severed? Is that, just so we understand? Okay.
Yes.
So you own the property you sold the portion of the property that's being
Yes.
used for the parking lot? Okay. Just putting things in context for everybody.
And I want the consent I want assurance that it's underway. And nobody's been able to tell me that, including his lawyer in Toronto. So that's why I raise it here. That's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Chair, for your benefit, apparently this consent application has been submitted. But again, it's a chicken and egg scenario, so the consent can't occur until the zoning is approved, and the zoning shouldn't be approved unless the consent is. So, it was our thought that dealing with the land use issue first, if council didn't approve an official plan amendment and a zoning amendment, which is the main issue, is the land use issue appropriate? The consent will facilitate the land use, but we felt the land use was the main issue to determine whether or not this whole package will be approved. And that will be at the discretion of council, obviously, and subject to any appeals. So that was the thought behind proceeding with the official plan amendment and zoning amendment first. Again, we're still at the very preliminary stages of these two applications, and we intend to process the consent application very quickly. The consent application process is a very short process, whereas the zoning amendment and official plan amendment process is significantly longer. So once we get, the goal is to get both done at the same time. So that's why the consent is a little delayed, if that explains it. But again, whatever contract you have with regard to the sale of the land, that's a contractual obligation that you have with the buyer, and we're not aware of those situations.
But it's also important to,
If you could come.
the contract that we have is only conditional on one thing, and that's the consent application. This application is irrelevant for the purposes of completing the contract. And I have never been given proper information about the status of the consent application. I've never seen it.
Just to comment, George, the thing is we cannot finish the consent unless we finish at least the beginning of this application, as far as what we discussed with the city. So it is part of the consent.
I don't agree. I don't think that that's necessarily true.
If the city can correct me, can we do consent without doing all of these applications together? Because we already applied for consent. Consent is part of these three applications.
Yes, the consent application can proceed, but it will be, the consent couldn't be finalized until the official plan amendment and the zoning amendment are finalized, so, and cleared the appeal periods.
So is there any way we could have, like, I just want to explain to George the process, because I understand it's taking a longer time, and we want to finish this as fast as we can, obviously. But I just want to explain to George, it's like, if we cannot finish the consent unless we have the other applications done too. Is that correct?
That's correct. You wouldn't be able to finalize the consent until, because we wouldn't authorize the consent or recommend approval of the consent without the official plan amendment and the zoning amendment.
Yes, exactly. Which is, George, why we are doing all of this. That's how, I know it's long, I know you trust me, like we want to finish as faster. This property is half vacant, so we want to finish everything, but it just, the way it works, it is how the system is.
All right, so are there any other members of the public that want to comment? All right, just when you get up to the podium, state your name and address.
My name's Brian Zelstra. I live in the next line, just on the south side of those two lines. I'm kind of, this property's going to back onto me if it goes. The big question I have is, and then we may be too early, but what do we have for like separation for privacy in this amendment? Because right now, as it sits, the parking lot as this place has become more and more popular. I get headlights and shining in my light in my backyard, through my windows every night. There is a lot of traffic in there at night that was never there when we bought the house a few years ago. So I'm kind of curious as to what, and I said it may be too early here, but what do we have for separation from that property to my property, which is right next door, over the weekends and evenings to, make sure I still have privacy and some quietness in my life. That's the only really question I had, so.
Thank you.
We can definitely have a tree line at the back, if that helps. That's part of the landscaping. That's definitely something that, if there is not already, then that's because it's already a green area. So we are considering greenery in that area.
Yeah, thank you. And I could add a little to that there. And it's Park Road South, the abutting Park Road South property?
Just the bottom of the picture there, the
left-hand side. Yep. Yeah, the odd-shaped lot. Yeah. Yes, it's through the site plan. At this stage, we could potentially implement zoning regulations at that corner of the lot to require a certain amount of landscaping, a certain setback to be provided at that corner abutting your property, residential property. So that's what we can deal with now through this process, but later they will be, as Adam mentioned, they will be required to apply for site plan approval where we deal with the minutia of the development of the site, including lot grading, landscaping, fencing, things like that. So these are things that we normally try to make sure that these features are implemented in any developments where there's a sensitive land use next to it, like a residential backyard. So it's something that we normally look at anyway. But through this process, we could implement regulations that require whatever minimums are appropriate.
Thank you, Walter. Councillor Sharwa.
Thank you, through Mayor Jordan. Just for you guys, what is your preference? Because now's the kind of the opportunity to find out what you would like for that privacy.
8-foot-high fence.
Right now, it's a 6-foot fence across the back. Unfortunately, the properties are all lower and we're to step down. Through the evenings, there's traffic back. There's more traffic than there was prior to this place opening up, which is, as people coming and going. There's a dumpster right at the back property. It's obviously just beside the fence. So when a truck comes in, he dumps that bin at 5 o'clock in the morning. We hear it. It's a constant headlight shining. So I'd like something in there to sort of keep the lights from coming into the backyard, and keep people from pulling up. So, hey, it's a really nice pool, that kind of stuff. So
We want something just to guarantee our privacy, more or less, right? Now, I know nothing's guaranteed in life, however, we want.
Yeah, I think if you're going to comment further, you'll need to come to the podium, just so it's for record. I think you should probably go to the podium, state what you need, and then it'll become part of the record of this meeting, so.
I get really loud from my chair too. So actually, what we're looking for is, right, like I said, there's a 6-foot fence at the back, but that 6-foot fence, by the time it gets to the edge of my property line, is down to about 5.5, 4 feet. Anyone that, it's much lower. So through the evenings, we get a lot of cars back there, and there's traffic, and the lights are always shining in my backyard. As the winter months progress, the nights get earlier, it carries on more and more. They have their dumpster back there right now, which the truck comes in, it's once or twice a week, it shakes the bin, that's normal, it's part of having business. But when they put this other property, I want to know what's going to happen, so I still maintain some decorum of privacy in my backyard. I want to be able to go out there and not have people shining up or people just pulling up and just, hey, that's a nice pool, and there's nothing here to divide the property. I want something to sort of keep people from being able to walk up or just stare over or keep our privacy as it is. So it's my backyard and not my front yard.
Thank you. Councillor Sharwa.
Thank you. No, you're good. Thank you. I'm just, Adam, if you're going to be presenting this again, I'm just going to ask that we have pictures, because I'm having issues trying to figure out where this is, and I want to be able to see the house and everything. So if you could just include that next time, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
Just to comment, definitely we can have a fence that goes all the way, that is 6 feet. That's fine with greenery for sure. Like I said, these areas are supposed to be greenery, and this is the best time to discuss all of this. So I have it as a note, and we will definitely implement that. No problems.
All right, seeing no further questions or comments, wait.
I think Councillor Frake and Councillor
Okay.
Vardy had some questions.
All right, I can't see your hand, so. Go ahead, Councillor Frake.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. Anyways, I know the property very well. It's just down the road from where I live, actually. And I'm pleased to see Mustafa and his crew expanding their business. I'm just curious, though, with the current amount of business you're running there, there's an overflow of parking. And I know that for a fact, because I get a lot of complaints from the folks who live on Muscat, which is across the road. So with this new extended parking, are you going to have ample parking to accommodate your patrons and maybe prevent people from parking across the road on Muscat, which is getting quite frustrating for quite a few of the people over there? Or is this new addition to the building is it going to eat up all the parking?
Thanks, Councillor. For this expanding, we will have, I believe, 14 extra parking above and beyond the required amount for the whole retail. And we're also talking with daycare actually for portion of the opened area. And they usually don't use that much of space. They would do require some outdoor, which will be discussed once we reach that point on a different site plan. But with that current layout, we have, I believe, 14 extra parking on top of what is required from us. So we should have less outside parking in the street than now. Because that's what the problem we have right now is because we don't have enough parking to accommodate the people that's coming. With this change, we will have not only enough through the bylaw, we will have an extra 14 parking spots.
Well, that's a good thing, and that's why I ask. I mean, so with the expansion of your business there, the 14 new parking spots plus your current business, there will be lots of parking to accommodate your business, your patrons coming in and out of the parking lot. And
yes,
which should stop people from parking across the road on Muscat where people live. Yes?
Yes, that's what we believe in. Yes.
That's great news. Thank you. And by the way, congratulations on your business. I think you're a great addition to the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good.
Councillor Vardy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mustafa. Where you're putting your parking, I'm assuming it's probably green space right now and treed. And what I'd like to know is how are you going to compensate for the loss of that green area?
So we are going to have tree lines planted, and we will have some fences for privacy, and there will be some losses on the greenery side, but we will accommodate it by having more trees around.
So you're going to do new plantings then?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Are you aware that we're trying to become the Carolinian capital of Canada? So what you plant is important.
Sure. Yes. We will definitely open for any recommendations of what you guys want us to do there.
So once we have a green committee that'll be starting up soon. So we'll then be able to, advise you on what would be good for the area. It's really important to make sure that you replace everything that's lost.
Sure. Yes, 100%.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're very welcome.
my new home.
Any further questions or comments from council? Seeing none? Thank you for your participation in the open house. The consultants and staff will take back your feedback. Please contact staff at planning@grimsby.ca if you have any additional comments or questions about the proposal after this evening. The public meeting is now closed. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.